It's the early 90s and I want hair like Tom Cruise. So, when I come out of the shower, I bend at the waist until the top of my head is toward the floor. Then I blow dry my hair while I run my fingers through it. This gives me the Tom Cruisian lift, volume, and floppiness that I so desire. My friend Terry doesn't do these things. He got a lousy hair transplant that left him with evenly spaced little islands along the top of his head, each sprouting its own small jungle of fuzz. Terry lets that fuzz grow and then styles it into the kind of wispy comb-over that would qualify him to run for president if he was around today. Except Terry isn't a douchebag. He's incredibly warm and friendly, and he speaks with a charming Tennessee accent. It's the early 90s. I wear my t-shirts tight and my 501 jeans tighter so they show off all my best assets. Terry's got a slightly 70s style and it suits him. Plaid shirts, khakis, work boots, and his beard and mustache are always neatly trimmed. There's something vaguely Tom of Finland about Terry. Tom of Finland was a gay artist who did these erotic drawings of handsome men with incredibly muscular bodies that were often tightly packed into lumberjack shirts, very much like the shirts that Terry wears. But the similarity between Terry and Tom of Finland's art goes way beyond plaid flannel. They are both magnificently unapologetic. They don't apologize for being gay. They don't apologize for being sexual. They don't apologize for any damn thing. This is amazing to me. I am in my mid-20s when I meet Terry, and I wish I could tell you that I am courageously queer, but I'm not. I am so timid about being gay that I always try to pass for straight, which is hilarious because I actually think I can pull this off. Newsflash, I cannot. But to be fair to myself, in the early 90s, everyone who isn't heterosexual is a target. One time, my boyfriend Scott and I were walking along Kettner Boulevard, and I laid my hand on his shoulder for like 3 seconds. That's all it took for people in 2 different cars to yell, "Faggots!" And even unapologetic Terry is careful. When he marches in the gay pride parade, he stays out of view of the reporters because Terry has a great big corporate human resources job. In 1992, it becomes illegal to fire someone for being gay, so a lot of employers take the indirect approach. They figure out someone's gay and then fire them for stealing pencils. Terry really needs his job. Terry really needs his health insurance. He never gets tested for HIV. Terry says, "Why should I get tested? I know what I've done and I know who I've done it with. I've had every other disease you can get from a dick. Of course I've got HIV." God, the audacity. Terry just copped to promiscuity, a complicated history with STDs, and made a cavalier assumption about his HIV status, all in a couple of jokey sentences. I could never, not in a million years, have done that. Secrets are easy for me. The truth? Nah. Speaking of uneasy truths, in 1992, there is one proven therapy for AIDS. One. A drug called AZT can extend the life of people with full-blown AIDS by about 6 months. For people who have the virus but aren't sick yet, in other words, for people like Terry, there's nothing. Nothing. Terry can't stand doing nothing. So he reads every research article he can find, and then he calls the scientists who wrote them. He talks to people in Atlanta, Germany, England, and Australia. And he's so damn charming that they have extended conversations with him. And Terry invents his own anti-AIDS regimen. He takes Antabuse, a drug that helps alcoholics stay sober because it's shown to have some antiviral properties. Vegetable proteins are thought to slow the disease, so Terry becomes a vegetarian. He downs a liter of aloe vera nectar every day. He takes vitamins, supplements, herbs, tinctures, big fistfuls of pills at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I would like to think that I would be as smart and proactive as Terry, but there is no way I would ever be as honest. I'd invent some sort of spiritual cleanse as a reason for downing the baggie full of pills that I choke down at the start of every meal. Terry treats his anti-AIDS regimen with the same playfulness that he treats everything else. He's playful, but Terry's also serious. T cells are the part of the immune system that the AIDS virus attacks, and Terry plots his T cell counts on a graph. Did their numbers jump up after he started drinking the aloe vera nectar? What about after he added L-lysine to the vitamins he takes? Did going vegan have an effect? You know what? Yeah. Terry's T cells did go up a little after he started drinking the aloe vera nectar. Same thing after he started taking the L-lysine and when he went vegan. These little jumps make me want to celebrate. They let me ignore the overall direction of the graph. It never occurs to me, not for 1 second, that Terry won't beat AIDS. I mean, we already have AZT, right? All Terry has to do is stay healthy until the better AIDS drugs come along. And they're coming. Any month, any week, any day, any minute, there is going to be another breakthrough. I can feel it in my bones. My bones are lying. There won't be any new therapies for AIDS until 1995. Terry develops leukoplakia. It's a whitish patch under his tongue. I'm not sure I would have noticed if it were happening in my own mouth. Terry says, leukoplakia is a possible precursor to oral cancer. I say, Terry, you are not going to get oral cancer. Well, I hope you're right, but this is probably my first manifestation of the disease. I say, what disease? Terry looks at me like I am out of my frickin' mind. His anti-AIDS regimen gets really intense. Every 2 weeks, he spends a couple of hours inhaling an aerosolized drug that fights the pneumonia associated with AIDS. This makes good sense for someone whose immune system isn't working very well. But some of the other stuff that Terry does, every Sunday morning, he has a nurse friend of his feed a feeding tube up his nose and into his stomach so cow colostrum can be delivered right to his gut. Colostrum is the stuff that mother cows produce right before they start making milk, and it gives the baby calf's immune system a great big boost, which is great for baby cows. But only the lunatic fringe thinks it will have any effect on HIV in humans. Terry then researches compound Q, an extract of the Chinese cucumber. And I remember thinking to myself, a cucumber is the vegetable equivalent of Wonder Bread. What can it possibly do? Turns out a lot. The Chinese use compound Q to treat cancer and induce late-term abortions. It can also cause anaphylactic shock, cardiac arrest, and sudden death. But Terry tells me about a study in San Francisco, just the beginning stages, but compound Q shows great promise in fighting HIV. It sounds like powerful medicine. I'm going to research how to get some. I don't know, Terry. Those side effects are really scary. Let the study run and see what happens. Terry's eyes open real wide, and they get real shiny, and he laughs in a strange, rapid-fire way, and that's when I see it. Terry is afraid. I see something else, too. Terry is thinner. He never gets infused with compound Q. This is good. Compound Q will kill multiple people and will be shown to have no lasting effect against HIV. The reason Terry never does compound Q is not good. Terry starts puking. I can't remember if Terry blames his puking on the vitamins or if I do, but that's what I latch on to. One of the supplements is making him sick. Only Terry can't figure out which one, and he's got to keep taking them because they're working. He's healthy. Well, aside from the leukoplakia and the weight loss, and now he has another whitish area in his mouth that's probably thrush. But aside from those things, Terry is healthy. He can live with puking every once in a while. We can all live with Terry puking every once in a while. Except pretty soon, it's a couple of times a week. And then it's every day. And then the headaches start. Terrible headaches. When they hit, his face turns gray. Thank God they usually don't last long. Until the one that does. One Saturday afternoon, my boyfriend Scott and I get a call from a friend who's a massage therapist. He says, there's a message from Terry on my answering machine. He's got a headache and he thinks a massage will cure it, but he sounds really bad, like really, really sick. Scott and I call Terry and get no answer. We stop by his house, but no one's there. Then other people contact us. Karen got a voicemail from Terry and he sounded awful. So did Jim. So did Bob. Everyone's worried, but no one spoke directly to him and no one knows where he is. And I'm worried too, but I'm not like out of my mind. I mean, this is Terry, the most brave and honest person I know. If he's really that sick, he probably just checked himself into a hospital. We just don't know which one. Wrong. As sick as he is, Terry arranges to have dinner with a friend. As sick as he is, he drives over to that friend's apartment. But when he gets there, his headache is so bad that he has to lay down on the couch for a few minutes. Only then he can't get back up. Scott and I find him on that couch with the lights off, the shades drawn, and every curtain pulled tight. In the entire time that I know Terry, this moment right here is the only time I ever see him do anything like denial. I am so used to his playfulness, his truthfulness, and his honesty that this freaks me out. Plus, Terry is lying in the dark with a cold compress on his eyes, and his skin is the color of a dirty dish rag. It looks like he is going to die right in front of us if he doesn't get to the hospital. I am panicking. Terry is not. He lifts a corner of the compress and he looks at Scott and me. Well, look what the Burmese python dragged in. Scott says, hey, Terry, I'd like to go to Cornucopia, that vegetarian restaurant, but I'm hesitant because the last time their tortilla chips tasted like bug spray. Terry prattles on about how the new owners of the Cornucopia restaurant wrecked the only good vegetarian restaurant in San Diego. Terry doesn't give Scott a chance to get a word in edgewise because Terry doesn't want to go to the hospital because Terry is afraid that if he does, he won't go home again. Scott is trying so hard, but what he's doing isn't working. So, I have to try something too. But I'm not the strong one here. The truth doesn't come easy for me. That's Terry. But Terry is weak and sick and tired, and so he needs someone to do what he can't anymore. So, I try to be like him. Before my courage gives out, I say, Terry, you need to go to the hospital right now, and we're going to take you. I know. It doesn't seem like much, does it? But that one sentence lays it out. Terry is different because Terry is dying. He fights us a little, but not much. I think he's relieved. I just stated the truth. And now there's no reason for pretense. Pretense is exhausting. So we get Terry to the ER, and I take his insurance card to the front desk to check him in. And next to me is a handsome young man who is so sick with AIDS that he can barely breathe. He's all by himself, checking into a hospital. He must be so scared. He must feel so alone. I try to smile at him, but an orderly comes with a wheelchair and takes him away. In the early 90s, none of this is unusual. For an emergency room in a city with a good-sized gay population, this is just another night. Terry does not die that night. Turns out he has an AIDS-related lesion on his brain that's swelling. They start him on steroids and anti-inflammatory drugs, and he actually feels better within hours. He goes home less than a week later. Terry has some good days after all this. Not many, but some. A couple of months later, he dies at home. So, it's not the early 90s anymore. We have elected officials, movie stars, business leaders, and Olympic athletes who are out and proud members of the LGBTQ community. I legally married my wonderful boyfriend, Scott, and today he and I can walk around San Diego holding hands together, and hardly anybody bats an eye. AIDS has become a manageable condition. But I don't want to forget what it was like not that long ago. I want to remember the handsome young man who stood next to me when I checked Terry into the hospital, because I'm not sure anyone else does. And I want to remember Terry, the person who was living the truth when I was living secrets. I want to remember these men, and I want you to remember them too. Thank you.